I'm Lauren Alsop, preservationist. I recently played a role in Chicago's struggle for the preservation of one of its designated landmarks, the Farwell Building. This film tells the story of that struggle and speaks to Chicago's reverence for its architectural landmarks and their determination to preserve them. Though granted landmark status by the City of Chicago in 2004, the building remained largely vacant and deterioration continued. Then, in 2005, the Prism Development Company came forward with a vision.
Our vision was to put a high-end condominium tower on top of the building. There's a saying in historic preservation that to preserve the past, you have to invest in the future.
Preservation Chicago's main concern was precedent. Our concern was not specifically about what the developers wanted to do with this particular building, although we did have some major concerns. What we felt was going to happen was that any building, any historic building along Michigan Avenue or State Street that no longer was producing a viable income could somehow be dismantled and re-erected on a different structure. So consequently, what we saw with the Farwell Building proposal was a precedent being set whereby any building along the Michigan Avenue street wall, any historic building that was 12 or 13 stories tall, could be literally dismantled and refitted onto a new facade.
If we were able to remove the stone panels and start from the top down and bring those to a warehouse, we could feel much more confident in salvaging these panels. There were a lot of people involved in evaluating this building, whether it was KGH close on the building, the developer scrutinizing KGH, the City of Chicago scrutinizing the evaluations, or even the community groups and their ideas as to what they thought the condition of the building was in. As part of the dismantlement plan and part of the reconstruction plan, we numbered all the limestone panels, window systems, spandrel panels on the building, where prior to it being removed, it's numbered. It gets put on a pallet, the pallet is numbered, it gets down to a truck, it moves to a warehouse, and we like to call it perhaps a ballet of many contractors, where you had some people dismantling the concrete and the beams, and then another group would come in and dismantle the limestone, another group would come in and dismantle the cast iron spandrel panel. You had to have one contractor supporting the limestone while the clay tile was again gently removed from the back of this limestone. And all these contractors had to come together in sequence. So there were a lot of little things that had to be coordinated there.
In order to execute that design, they ended up having to strip the facade of the Farwell Building, build a completely new frame for it, and then take the remnants, which you see behind us, of the Farwell Building and sort of glue them on or attach them to this new structure. What we as preservationists argued was, and this is a controversial position, which is then tear it down. The landmark ordinance has a provision for economic hardship. The Farwell Building clearly met the economic hardship, and you could prove on paper that this building was never going to make a developer any money. So what we proposed was preserve the landmark ordinance, don't allow the dismantling of this building, because it's just going to allow 20 buildings in the future to be dismantled in this fashion. Let the developers do the economic hardship route and let them plead hardship, and we will lose one historic building that we all love, but it would preserve the integrity of the landmark ordinance. That's what that was what our argument was.
Chicago was now in an ideologic struggle for the very definition of preservation.
Well, this is why the Farwell Building story is so important and is such an important story to tell.